the dosage. There's no particular dosage because
Don't they have the cream you can rub on your hands?
they have cream. Yeah, I use that too. You can get CBD cream that you can rub where it's particularly sore. Yeah, I use that like if my back gets sore or my arm or shoulder gets sore or something for on a particular occasion because I'm doing yard work or something. But Bonnie and I take the CBD oil every day.
That's what Cameron's for, the yard work.
Yes.
Just so you know.
Anthony, you're live. You're ready to go.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'll call the meeting to order for FNF April 20th, 2021. Agenda, let's go to item 1, approval of the minutes. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Barb,
Second.
second by Margaret. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Approved. Item action 2.1, recommend approval of payroll certification. May I have a motion?
Move.
Moved by Margaret,
Second.
second by Barb. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Approved. 2.2, recommend approval of CRR SAA grant award. May I have a
We
motion?
started before 9 o'clock.
Nope, we started exactly at 9 o'clock.
9
We
o'clock.
went live at 9 o'clock, Mr. Serafini.
I was here on time too, Nick.
For the record, yeah.
May I have a motion?
Move.
Moved by Margaret,
Second.
second by Nick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2.3, recommend approval of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021.
I'll move it.
Yeah, I'll
By
second
Margaret,
that.
second
I'll
by Nick.
that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 2.4, recommend approval of resolution to submit SUNY Broome proposed 2021-2022 operating budget to the county executive and the Broome County legislature. May I have a motion?
I'll
I'll move
move.
that.
Moved by Barb, second by Nick. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Michael, you can unmute yourself instead of raising your hand so I can hear you. Same with you, Jason, if you wanted to. Passed. 2.5, recommend approval of resolution for capital improvement program requests to Broome County for 2022 to 2026. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Margaret,
I'll second it.
second by Nick. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It'll never happen.
And I don't
What do
think
you-
I vote, right? I'm just here as a trustee, not as I'm not on the committee, right? So I
Right.
just don't vote, right, Diana?
Correct.
2.6, recommend resolution for the revised position description, Associate Dean for Hospitality and the Culinary and Events Center. May I have a motion?
Move.
Moved by Margaret, I'm sorry, moved by Barb. Second,
Oh, I'll second it.
second by Margaret.
I have a question.
Discussion?
Is this a person under Ray? Is that how this works? No?
And this is going to be on the operational side. So all the non-teaching, to oversee all the non-teaching possibilities
Okay, and
there, which are
Generate
myriad, of course.
people to come in and stuff. Okay.
Any
Kevin,
further
what's going-
discussion?
Kevin, what's going on there now?
We have our event, planning and management and culinary classes, going on a regular basis. We also had a chopped competition there a few weeks ago with students from the residence hall, which was a gas. I was a judge. It was a load of fun. So there,
did
and
they
of course,
chop,
obviously
Kevin?
that's non-credit. What's that?
Would they chop?
Well, they're all given I've never seen Chopped on television. It's a double entendre because you get chopped when the judges kick you out. It's sort of like
Oh.
who gets kicked off the island. So we started with 4 teams and 4 rounds, and each round you eliminate a team. They get the same ingredients and the same pantry ingredients, condiments and things, and they cook with ingredients. And every single thing and they're not culinary majors. They're not culinary students. They did have culinary coaches. Each team had a coach. But, and they have, well, Carol organized, or they have 30 minutes to put a dish together or something, and not even
Yeah,
maybe
they
20
had
minutes.
20 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes for the appetizer, 30 minutes for the entree, and then the 30 minutes for the dessert.
And
Oh.
every single thing they cooked was delicious. They even did one with Spam. I mean, I haven't had Spam since I was a kid. It was absolutely, everything they did was, I mean, things I ordinarily wouldn't even eat. Of course, as a judge, I had to eat, and they were delicious. I mean, all four
Yeah.
teams did an awesome job. It was hard actually to eliminate them and come up with a winner. It was a lot of fun. It really
Yeah.
demonstrated, how much we can do down there, even with our own students.
And it's
who
good
aren't-
for building a team building too, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And you could tell they were having a ball.
Mhm.
Under normal times, we would have had an audience there. I mean, we really
Yeah.
didn't have an audience
Right.
there.
Right.
Hmm. Oh, thanks.
Okay, is that any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Any opposed? So adopted. 2.7, recommend approval of resolution for the revised position description for the assistant to the director of custodial services. May I have a motion?
Yeah, I read this. I'll move it.
Moved by Nick,
I'll second it.
second by Margaret. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So carried. Sorry, I hit my screen here. 2.8, recommend approval of resolution for the revised position description for the Director of Campus Operations Space Center. May I have a motion?
I'll move it. Oh,
Moved by Barb,
I'll second
second
it.
by Margaret. Any discussion?
We're
All in
mushing a
favor?
couple of positions together there.
All in favor?
aye.
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 So carried. 2.9, recommend approval of professional services contract to assist with the negotiation of labor contracts. May I have a motion?
I'll move.
Moved by Barb, second,
I'll second this.
second by Nick. Any discussion?
Why aren't we just using Tom B and are using the county instead of spending the money paying for a lawyer? Especially.
Well, we'll see where it goes. We didn't last time, as you might recall. It really going to depend on where the FA goes with primarily with with negotiations. If they have a professional negotiator. Tom was not available the last time we were looking for for someone to do it, and the county really didn't have anybody they were willing to lend to us, and we don't have to use him, just as we didn't last time, even though he was contracted. We could have, but we didn't. So we'll see what our options are.
But we only pay him if we use them.
Yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So carried. Informational items, 3.1, President's Report. Dr. Drum?
Yeah, just quickly, because we want to get on to Michael. We've got convocation today, starting at 9. Well, for me, starting at 9:45. For everybody else at 10. Just a couple of things. While before we get to going over the high points of the budget, which Michael will cover, the proposed budget and where we are for this year. As we're in pretty good shape for this year, thanks to 3 federal stimuli. I want to thank Michael and Jeanette and their team, for their efforts in the Middle States, self-study process and reaccreditation. They participated in various teams and whatnot, but historically, before we got into this new era of accreditation, finances was one of the areas if you were going to get in trouble for your accreditation, that was one of the areas that was most prevalent before we got into this high assessment area for learning outcomes. And that's the biggest challenge most institutions face, as it's a relatively new way, not for the health sciences, but relatively new way of doing business for higher education across the board, for how you demonstrate just what your students have learned. And how do you know they didn't learn it somewhere else and they learned it from what you did at your college, and how much did they learn? So, but finances has always been a key area, and I want to thank them for everything they do day to day. And in the midst of that, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 audits, I think 2 of which have, well, maybe 3 have wrapped up. So, you know, a really extraordinary workload for them this year as well. And those one audit, of course, is the annual regular audit. The others are random. You just get chosen by either a state agency or a federal agency to, you know, to get audited for no particular reason, because they rotate them around every several years. And we just happened to get hit with a confluence of them this year. I'm sure 2 years of it was stored up because of COVID. So I want to thank Michael and Jeanette and the team for all the extra effort that's been required this year. The budget that the proposed budget that you just passed for the county is pretty austere. Again, thanks to the federal stimulus, we're in okay shape, we think, for next year. A lot will depend on where enrollment ends up. Recently, our inquiries had ticked up, which was a good sign. We'll see if that translates into actual students coming here. But we do know that nationally, again, the lower socioeconomic families' kids just aren't applying to college at the rates that they were pre-COVID, and most of those students tend to go to community colleges. So we'll see what this last fall was a big unknown. Well, this fall is going to be a very big unknown as well. Right now, we're going to be, close to 60% on campus. Some of those classes will be hybrid, part on campus, part distance. We'll see how that balances out. The more hybrid we are, the more beneficial it is for our working older students. But we know our younger students don't like the distance delivery. So we'll see how that balances out for this coming fall. It's going to be a challenge for us going forward, is how we balance what we offer at a distance and what we offer on campus, because you have 2 really separate markets there when it comes to their preference for pedagogy. If you're working and you got kids at home, the distance stuff really works well. But when you're just out of high school and really until this past year and a half, all you've ever known is face-to-face, and your attention span isn't quite the same as working folks who are a little older. They don't really appreciate the distance stuff, and we get it. So going to be interesting to see how that balances out for us this fall, and how it balances out for the industry, because there's no question the industry is going to be doing far more distance learning going forward than it ever did before. It was the fastest growing area of higher ed, and now it's going to be leaps and bounds. So we're moving into a whole new world here. Trends that were moving along pretty well pre-COVID and just got jacked up on caffeine as a result of COVID. So we'll see where all that goes. I'll leave it at there, since Michael should spend a little bit of time on that proposed budget, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Drum. 3.2 budget and finance update, Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in your packet, you have the budget forecast, the monthly through March 31st. We continue budget and finance to project a balanced budget for this year. Really, the forecast hasn't changed much since last month. The primary factor that we had to verify was the state budget was approved a couple of weeks ago, and we're able to confirm that for the current year, the state aid is going to be reduced by 5%. And so we had forecasted that a month ago. And so the numbers really haven't changed too much from last month. The other major piece of the state approved budget was for next year, which is factored in the proposed budget that you just recently approved. There is an option that community colleges can take of either a $50 per FTE increase. It was currently at the current year $2,947, and so $50 is just a hair below $3,000 per student FTE. So you could either elect that, and again, you multiply that times your 3-year weighted average, 50% of the prior year, 30% of the second prior year, and 20% of the third prior year. So you do that calculation and get that number, or you can take 98% of your current year's adopted budget, which in essence is a 2% decrease of your current year's state aid amount. So when we did the calculations, we would lose because the enrollment is has so declined that even though you're getting $50 more for next year, the substantial decrease in enrollment would result in a community college losing well over $1 million. So the college elected to lose approximately $225,000, which is a 2% decrease against the current adopted amount, which is in column 2 of that monthly forecast of 12.27 million. So you just 98% of that, or a 2% decline, is really what we're proposing for next year's budget. There's some other very modest state aid for rental aid and a couple other things that makes that number a little bit bigger, but nothing very material. So in any event, for the current year, at this point, we think we do have a balanced budget. We continue to monitor the situation. Enrollment, for the fall, it was about a 11.7% decrease compared to last year's actual. Spring ended up at about 17.7%. So the average is about 14.7% decline in enrollment that the college is currently forecasting for the current year. We still have summer enrollment. That's about 5% of the overall enrollment. So we're projecting that to decline similar to spring. And we'll just see how that number plays out during the course of the summer. But for all practical purposes, these numbers ought to play out reasonably well throughout the rest of the year, with really fall and spring pretty much concluded from an enrollment and a payroll cost dynamic. Just a couple of other things Dr. Broome did mention. We just concluded really our 4th major audit with the U.S. Department of Defense, reviewing the veterans program, and I'm pleased to say that there were a handful of minor recommendations around updating some procedures and further updating our website around certain information that the college should be providing for the veterans group. But aside from that, there were really no material weaknesses or any real key issues. So college is required to submit a plan of correction, I think over the next 30 to 60 days. And then, that will be monitored by the federal government over the course of probably the next several years. So we're real pleased with that. I think I mentioned here at finance previously that we had a real solid audit on the Title IV federal aid funds, and we concluded with a bond deal external audit on our financial statements, and also, I think, had a reasonably positive response by the financial people on the middle states aspect. So that concludes my report, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions for Michael? Okay, 3.3, 1, Dave Lagaitis, facilities update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everyone. You should have my report in front of you. I'll go through it real quickly. We've begun the equipment changeover from winter to spring and summer equipment. And in fact, we've already cut the grass up here a number of times. We're doing an awful lot of landscape cleanup. And right now the campus is in pretty good shape from the winter and ice, the snow and ice we had this winter. As I've indicated in the past, we did install 2 bipolar ionization units in the student center, which has allowed for the reopening of our fitness lab and the weight room and the dance studio. Broome County was in to inspect the work and to give final approval to that opening. And as an aside, our HVAC technician was at the Student Village Fitness Center yesterday and provided recommendations to them this morning, a very similar approach with the installation of the ionization units and some increased ventilation to hopefully allow for the reopening of the fitness center at the Student Village as well. To promote and encourage the use of more outdoor space and get our campus-wide population outside more, we've erected 3 tents on the campus, 1 fairly large tent and 2 smaller tents, and they were erected on the perimeter of the center campus quad. In addition to those tents, we plan on constructing 2 permanent pavilions on the campus to do the same thing once the fall semester is here. And that's to encourage any and all outdoor activities that we can, whether that be outdoor classes, having student clubs meet outside, having events outside. But what we're trying to do is increase the use of our outdoor space. As you know, we're working on 2 patios on either side of the library, and that work will begin again once the area dries out substantially. The sand there is still pretty wet and is not allowing us to continue that work, but we will have a fair number of outdoor spaces to be utilized once next semester rolls around. Design work has begun for the replacement of the library roof and penthouse renovation. As you approved, I think at your last meeting, temporary signs have been posted for all the restrooms on campus that we designate as gender neutral. Permanent signs have been ordered and will be posted as soon as we receive those. We've begun repair work on the brick sign base out in front of the campus along Front Street. That was subject to a significant amount of freeze thaw this past winter, and we need to repair that. And lastly, the standby generator for the IT server, which we've spoken about, is scheduled to be delivered on May 25th. We've already received the switchgear, but once we receive that generator, installation of that obviously will begin. And with that, I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions for Dave?
I
3.3.
have a question. Are all the restrooms not gender specific?
No, Margaret, the qualification there was they would have to have a single toilet, a single sink, and they had to be lockable from the inside. So those are the ones that we've classified or were classified by SUNY as gender neutral.
Oh, okay.
So it's not all the restrooms, it's just the ones that met that certain criteria.
Oh, okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Dave? Thank you. 3.3.2, human resource update, Lynn.
Good morning. The personnel report reflecting March 2021 is standard activity.
Thank you. 3.3.3 through 3.3.5, Michael, I'm assuming those are just standard.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, any new items? Any new business? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved
Second.
by Margaret, second by
Second.
Nick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody have a great day. See you all on
Thank you,
Thursday.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.